You are all welcome to Genius Grades. Yes, you are all welcome. Today we'll be looking into Cameroon GCE Ordinary Level Biology Paper 2, the most recent past question, which is GCE 2022. Voila. Okay, if you haven't subscribed, quickly do that so you'll be notified the first when we upload new videos every week, and you'll be part of the success train. Make sure to like, share, of course, comment your worries, share so that others will take part in this success. Genius Grades is for all, so help make or put a smile on someone's face. Thank you very much. Today we are going to look at GC 2022 Biology Paper 2, Section A. For the start, we begin. Question 1 says, explain the following biological terms. I says osmosis. From our class review, we understand that osmosis talks of solvents, molecules, water, liquids, for example. Yes, it's not like diffusion that talks of particles. Yes. So right away, osmosis is the movement of solvent particles. Please follow up as it's written there. It's written so you can jot it down and do the revision later. This channel is here to help you from buying pamphlets and the rest. You get direct access to your questions and again your answers. Yes. So osmosis is the movement of solvent particles from a solution that is diluted to a more concentrated one. This is kind of different from what we know in diffusion. So it's a movement of solvent particles from a solution that is diluted to a more concentrated one. Diffusion, Roman numeral 2. Diffusion is the movement of particles from a higher concentration, take note, from a higher concentration region to a region of lower concentration. So with diffusion, particles move from where it's concentrated so much available, to where there is nothing at all, or little or nothing at all. Yes. For example, if we have a gas leakage in our homes, we use gas bottles. If we have a gas leakage, yes, diffusion is the movement of the gas from the bottle where it is highly concentrated or much, where it is highly concentrated, to the rest of the room where it was not found at all. That is diffusion. Roman 3. Active transport. Active transport here is the process of moving molecules across a cellular membrane. Active transport. From its name, it sounds powerful. Yes, it sounds powerful. We can picture work, like work is done. Active. You can picture work is done. So with active transport, there is a use of energy. Why? Reasons being that it moves against concentration gradient. What is concentration gradient? Concentration gradient talks of a balance in concentration. Yes. When it is in a normal form, we say it moves from a higher to a lower, as we saw in diffusion. But when we say it moves against concentration gradient, that means particles instead move from a region where it is in lower concentration to where it is in higher concentration. Like the example where I did above, particles will instead move from the room into the gas bottle where it is concentrated. So for particles to move against this concentration gradient, there is a need for force. So a need for energy, a need to do work. So with active transport, particles move across a cellular membrane through the use of cellular energy. So particles move against concentration gradient with the use of energy. That is active transport. We are done with question 1a. Question 1b says, how is osmosis important to plants? How is osmosis important to plants? Remember, we said osmosis talks of movement of molecules. Yes, movement of molecules across a membrane. Number 1, osmosis induces cell to grow, which regulates the movement of plants and plant parts. Osmosis induces is the call of cells shape, cell stiffness. Yes. And so when cells kind of change in shape of or kind of move in a direction due to movement of its molecules, as water or liquids pass through it, it kinds of regulate the movement of plants. Remember, we are talking of important to plants, the movement of plants and plant parts. Osmosis also controls the dehiscence of foods and sporangia. Very true. Higher osmotic pressure protects the plants against drought injury. If there is a high osmotic pressure, that means molecules or water molecules or liquids are taken up by the plant. So this protects the plant against drought. And when there is drought, if a plant experiences drought, obviously that's how they carry their own wound, their own injury. There is kind of breakage of plant parts, might be leaf falls off, stems falls off. So higher osmotic pressure protects the plant, nourishes the plant and protects it against drought injury. The fourth importance. The absorption of water from the soil is due to osmosis. Yes, we know that. The plant roots have a higher concentration than the soil. Therefore, the water flows into the roots. So what are they trying to say? Osmosis is the cause for water nourishment of the plant. Yes, that's simply saying that osmosis helps nourish the plant with water. It's kind of it almost ties with the previous example. The last one says the gut cells of the plants are also affected by osmosis. When the plant cells are filled with water, the gut cells swell up and the stomata open. We know the importance of stomata opening. It helps your respiration. This is one of the adaptation of a plant to its function. Yes, one of the adaptive features of a plant, stomata. C. Describe an experiment to demonstrate osmosis in living tissues. Wow, this is one of the interesting experiments in O levels, demonstrating osmosis in living tissues. When we are asked to maybe use a potatoes food, that's a potatoes tuber, or a yam or what we call cocoa tuber. Yes, we are asked to use it. Here in this case, we are going to use a potato. Demonstration of osmosis in a living tissue can be done using the potato osmoscope. This is a procedure. Our aim is to demonstrate osmosis in living tissues. Our procedure. The potato is of course peeled. We can't do the process with the peeling there because the peeling is a coating which will prevent osmosis between the environment and its inward tissues. So the potato is peeled and one side is flattened, which serves as a base. A cavity is made in the potato and is filled with concentrated sugar. We are going to use sugar solution here. You can use either a sugar or a salt. It's up to you, any salt. Yes. And when the potato is peeled, Now we make one side of the potato as the bottom, where you have to sit in a baker because we need a baker. Yes, so it serves as a base on the bottom. Now we create a cavity, a hole in the middle of the potato. Is made in the potato, and now that cavity is then filled with either a sugar or a salt solution, which sugar is the case here, and a pin mark is made to indicate the initial level. The potato is then placed in a beaker containing colored water for some time. Now we are placing the potato in a beaker first of all without any colored water. The reason why we are using colored water is that we will be able to identify that the colored water through osmosis has moved into the potato and now dissolve the sugar in the cavity we made. Yes, we are going to see the colored water in the cavity after some time, in the potato after some time, whereas it was not there. Rather, we only put in sugar. So we only put the sugar in the potato. So we are going to experience that the colored water will move through that tissue, the tissues of the potato into the cavity where the sugar is. You meet the sugar, and we'll also taste. If we taste the colored water, will discover that it will be sugar. If it's salt, it will be salty. Yes. So that's it. Observation. It is observed that the sugar solution in the cavity of the potato becomes colored and the level rises. That means, as I explained earlier, we are going to observe that the sugar solution in the potato will have the same color as the water outside. That is to show that the water has moved through the potato into the cavity. And we are going to see that the solution, the salt or the sugar solution in it has dissolved, and the level of the water there will increase. That means they will have that water in it. Influence. This proves the entry of water. This is the conclusion rather. This proves the entry of water into the sugar solution through the potato tissues, which serves as the selective permeable membrane. Plasmolysis. When a plant cell is placed in hypotonic solution, the process of osmosis starts, and water from the cell sap diffuses out into the solution of external medium. This causes a reduction in the tension of the cell wall and brings about the contraction of protoplasm due to the continuous loss of water. The protoplasm becomes rounded in shape due to contraction, and such a cell is said to be plasmolyzed. Yes. And the phenomenon is referred to as plasmolysis. When water is being drained because of tension on the cell and reduction of water from a cell, the water is being drained because the cell is being placed in a hypotonic solution where it is highly concentrated. The water in it is drained so as to try to balance, because of osmosis, try to balance the concentration of it outward surrounding. That's the hypotonic solution outward, which is found out of the tissue of the cell. So as it's being drained, it shrinks. The biology terms it that the phenomenon is known as plasmolysis. So the cell is being plasmolyzed. You can read this, you can pause the video to read and then understand properly. The initial stage of plasmolysis, when the protoplasm just starts leaving the cell wall, is called incipient plasmolysis. When a completely plasmolyzed cell is again placed in water or a hypotonic solution, endosmosis takes place and the protoplasm regains its original state and shape. Well, yeah, this is not part of the experiment. From this plasmolysis is not part of the experiment, but this is to explain what happens in osmosis. Here they have said when a tissue is being placed in a hypotonic solution, a solution which is highly concentrated. Let me say the solution has so much sugar in it. Now, this hypotonic solution, in order to create a balance, tends to drain water from the cell, that is the cell which is placed in it. So upon this action of draining, it causes the cell to shrink, termed as plasmolysis. So the cell is plasmolized. Now, if you remove this shrinked or plasmolized cell and place it into a hypotonic solution where the concentration here is low, it's not a concentrated solution or not a salty solution, place in this other solution, the tissue will tend to drain water to itself. It will get soaked. Yes, it will get soaked again. When it is soaked, it will now tend to become, it will be full. Yes, if we check from here, when a completely plasmolized cell is placed, when a shrinked cell is placed again in water or a hypotonic solution, as earlier said, osmosis takes place. The first process when it was plasmolized is called osmosis. Now, in this other process where this plasmolized cell regains itself in the original state and shape, it's called endosmosis. Endosmosis takes place and the protoplasm regains its original state and shape. That is, the cell becomes fully turgid, that's strong. This phenomenon is the reverse of plasmolysis, and it is called the plasmolysis. Now, that means plasmolysis is shrinking. The plasmolysis is a process by which a cell or any tissue gains its original state, shape, and becomes turgid. That's the plasmolysis. Now let's see the diagram of the experiment. We have before. This is before by our left, and this is after. Before and after. Okay. So for requirements, if we were reporting according to the standard of reporting experiments, we'll put beaker, potato, water, sugar solution or salt solution, and that's it. Okay. We discover that this is a setup. You can draw the simple setup that is show you setup. So that is the diagram. That's the diagram for the experiment. We'll see that in A, when we have the little dot, we have our solution we have our potato in the beaker, and our solution is there outside. We discovered that if we look our sugar solution in A here, if you look our sugar solution in A here, sorry about that. So if you look our sugar solution in A here, this is A. If you look at our sugar solution here, we'll see that it is right down. The level is low. But looking at our sugar solution after osmosis, when the water inside, this water inside has entered into the cavity, by osmosis, we discover that the level of it kind of increases. Look at it. Look where the stroke is. You see that is low. But see now here, the level increases. It increases because by osmosis the solution has entered inside. So that's it. Question 2. I hope if there's any question, drop it at the comment section and we'll trash it. Any worry, maybe we'll trash it at the comment section. So question 2 is upper one. They say briefly explain the term photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. Wow. Photosynthesis is a process that happens with plants, which we know. It's a process which plants use sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to create oxygen and energy in the form of glucose. So we should understand that photosynthesis is plants' own way of breathing, like how man or other animals, mammals, have respiration as their own way of breathing. So same way as respiration in man takes in oxygen to send out carbon dioxide. In plants, they take in that carbon dioxide animals or man releases to instead create us our oxygen. So plants take in carbon dioxide and send out oxygen, while man takes in oxygen and send out carbon dioxide. So nature is great. There is always a balance in nature. So it is the process which plants use sunlight, water. These are the top requirements for photosynthesis to take place. Sunlight, there must be an energy source. Sunlight, water, carbon dioxide. These are the main three. So these three, plants use them to generate or to create or to give out oxygen. They give out energy in the form of glucose. So energy is in the form of glucose. If you look at our reaction here, carbon dioxide plus water gives here is represented by the arrow, gives glucose plus oxygen. So the glucose C6H12O6 here represents oxygen. So there is it. 6 carbon dioxide plus water gives glucose, which is energy here, glucose plus oxygen. So this is if they ask the equation for photosynthesis, this is the equation you are supposed to give. Everything 6, you balance the equation, of course. So to give the importance of photosynthesis in nature. The importance of photosynthesis in nature. The importance from the definition you can obviously create the importance. It creates clean air for breathing. For example, what did I explain? I said photosynthesis is plant's own way of breathing, as man breathes using a phenomenon you said to be respiration. Yes. So if in photosynthesis, if in respiration, for example, in man, let me begin with that. Carbon dioxide is being taken in and oxygen sent out. Oxygen is being taken in and carbon dioxide is being sent out. When oxygen is taken in, carbon dioxide is being sent out. Plants take in this carbon dioxide and send out oxygen, which is then later used by man again to send out carbon dioxide. So they create a balance. So the atmosphere remains forever clean because of this balance. So the toxic substance carbon dioxide is never left outside. So it creates a clean air for breathing, because since man cannot take in carbon dioxide, plants eliminate carbon dioxide by using it and giving us back the oxygen which we need, which is not poisonous to man. So it creates a clean air for breathing. Secondly, it also allows plants to grow. Yes, because with photosynthesis, plant creates its own food. Thirdly, without photosynthesis, there will be no little oxygen on the planet. Yes, photosynthesis is a method, or it's a form where oxygen is being created. So it's an important process. It produces oxygen for the survival of living organisms. Yes, though the third and the fourth almost looks alike, but there are two different points, because the first says photosynthesis provides oxygen for the planet, because oxygen is used in many different ways in different instances in nature, not only as man takes it in. No. And the fourth says it produces oxygen for the survival of living organisms. This is another function of oxygen being used as another point. Thirdly, photosynthesis provides oxygen for the respiration process. Yes. Okay. B says, how is the leaf situated? How is the leaf situated? Or can say, how is the leaf adapted for photosynthesis? Situated means how does the leaf suit for how is it suited or suitable for photosynthesis? Adaptation of the leaf for photosynthesis is the same thing. Question interpretation. First, we'll say it has a large surface area to absorb sunlight. Yes, the leaf is described as broad. Can be broad, yes, to absorb sunlight. Contains openings called stomata. It contains openings called stomata, which allows carbon dioxide into and oxygen out. So the stomata serves in plants as how we have the lungs in man, where when air comes in through the nostrils goes to the lung. So the lungs in man takes in oxygen, and upon all function of respiration, it sends out through the nostrils carbon dioxide. So the stomata in plants, the leaf contains stomata openings. Stomata openings which allow the exchange of these gases, that is, allows carbon dioxide to come in and oxygen to go out. The third says it has extensive vein system for nutrients transfer. Yes, if you look at the surface of a leaf, you discover veins, tiny veins moving up and down. Yes, so it's described as an extensive vein system. Yes, because nutrients are being distributed all over the leaf or stems through these veins. So this extensive vein system helps for nutrients transfer. The fifth says, or the fourth rather, cortical and upper epidermis prevent water loss. Cortical and upper epidermis, when we talk of epidermis, we remember the skin. So the cortical is the upper layer, is like a apple shape found on the skin or the surface of the leaf, and the upper epidermis is the upper surface. So the cortical is also found on the upper surface, and this function or this adaptation says it prevents water loss. So in case of drought, this helps prevent water loss of the leaves or the plant. The fifth says leaf arrangement increases absorption of sunlight. Yes, They are being arranged in a zigzag manner. You cannot see a leaf underlining another leaf. Rather, the mode of arrangement increases absorption of sunlight. They said they are arranged in a perpendicular manner, which increases absorption of sunlight. Thank you very much. That is question 2 up to question 3. Question 3a. Define the following terms. 1. Pollution. Pollution. Pollution is the introduction of harmful materials. This is it. Harmful materials is the key word. Harmful materials. Introduction of harmful materials into the environment. These harmful materials are called pollutants. So we can say pollution is the introduction of pollutants into the environment. The environment can be water, land, air, and so on. The second term we have to define is producer. What is a